everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Abby Andrew, this is Nilly, and today we're going to be talking about makeup for alopecia. If you're new to my channel, I'm someone who has had alopecia for pretty much my whole life. All of my hair fell out when I was around 2 years old. I have many years of experience drawing on my brows and lashes for alopecia. I didn't start wearing makeup daily until I was about 14, maybe 13, 14 or so, where I started to attempt to draw on brows. And trust me when I say I have had years of bad brows. So in this video, I really wanted to kind of just put together all of the tips that I have picked up over the years just from doing my own brows and lashes to hopefully save you from the trouble of all the trial and error that I had to do in my alopecia makeup experience. So I will put chapter markers below if you just want to learn about a specific part, whether it's about the products that I use, specifically brows, specifically lashes. So if you want to jump to a specific part, you can find all of the timestamps in the description below and at the bottom of the video. For those of you who prefer to read rather than watch a video, I'm also going to include a link to my blog below, where I'm also going to include these same tips and instructions, all the products that I use on my blog as well. If you'd rather just skim through there, it's linked in the description. I will also have all of the products that I talk about in this video linked in that blog post, as well as on my Amazon storefront, which will be linked below. I do get commissions if you buy anything from my Amazon storefront, so if you do buy anything from there, thank you so much. Love you for that. It's just like a couple cents per item, but it does help the channel out to keep making content. Let's start first by jumping into brows. There's a couple of different methods you can use to do your brows. The first thing that I want to mention is a really popular makeup product that a lot of people in the alopecia community use that I personally don't use, but I know a lot of people love these. That is actually temporary tattoos for your eyebrows. I have so many different sheets here because when I went to the alopecia conference, I wanted to bring a couple of different styles to see if people wanted to try them out or just see what's available. This pack here is just a really cheap pack from Amazon. I will link these below. The ones that I actually bought for the conference ended up being these gigantic, massive ones that for my face wouldn't work at all. These actually might work for more of a masculine face if you have more broad features or something like that, because these can work for men as well. I do want to mention that. So although this is a makeup video and a lot of these things are going to be kind of like more feminine makeup techniques, something like these brow tattoos could work really well for men as well, or for people who don't want a feminine appearance. And this will come in a wide variety of styles and colors. I'm going to link a couple of different ones on my storefront, but I do also want to mention another brand that somebody recommended to me called Brows by Bossy. So I actually bought these but haven't used them yet. Part of the reason that I don't use these daily, there's two reasons. For one, I do have a tiny bit of brow hair, and I think these work best if you have no brow hair whatsoever. So you can still apply them if you do have some brow hair, but it might not lay as flat. So I bought this brand, but I haven't actually tried it yet because I'm scared they won't lay as flat on my brows. And these are a little bit more expensive, but for good reason. So these cheap Amazon ones, you can buy variety packs, which are really great for practicing with, experimenting with, finding the right shape and color for you. And you can get a multi-pack for like $9 or something. This one, however, for one sheet was, I think, $14. So it's definitely a step up in price, because for $14 you get like 18 sheets of these, and for $14 you get one sheet of these. But I'm pretty sure these last much longer, so these might last for multiple days, whereas these, I tested them and they barely even lasted the day. They definitely do last for a day, but they're not waterproof. They washed off in the shower and they didn't get me past the day mark, whereas some of the really nice ones, a friend of mine said that she wears them for like a week at a time at least, whereas the cheap Amazon ones, they are more affordable, but they probably won't last more than a day. The other reason I don't use those regularly is because I personally struggle to put those on. Some people love those and they can put them on in 2 seconds. I've only tried maybe 3-4 times, but every time I do, I can't quite get the placement right. So that's just a really good example right off the bat of how some techniques will work for some people and other techniques will work for other people. I personally like to use pencil, and that will be what I'm demonstrating in this video. So I like to use a pencil with a retractable tip, so you don't have to use a specific brand. My favorite right now is the CoverGirl Nano 1mm. It's called the Clean Fresh Brow 1mm Nano Pencil, but it's really amazing. When I saw an ad for this, and the ad worked on me because it's literally advertised as a 1mm tip, and that's what you really want for drawing on realistic brows, because you want to be drawing on what looks like individual brow hairs, and the best way to do that is to have an ultra fine tip. You can use like a regular pencil. I brought this just to show as an example. This is just like a Wet n Wild regular brow pencil. This is what I used to use in high school and middle school for years, so if you want something that's like $1 if you're on like a super makeup budget, this will work. But if you are using a pencil that's not retractable, sharpen it every single time, because you want to have that ultra fine tip when you do your brows. That's why I love the retractables though, because you don't have to carry a sharpener around with you and you'll always have that ultra fine tip. I just want to give a mention to the e.l.f. retractable brow pencil because I have been using this one for years. This one I only started using in the last 2 months, and I do prefer this, to be honest. It does feel like it lasts a little bit longer, but this e.l.f. retractable brow pencil is another really fantastic budget option, and this worked well for me for so many years. It's not quite as small as the CoverGirl one, but it's real close. And I like to pair that with the NYX Lift and Snatch. This is a really popular product for people who have brows, and apparently for people who don't have brows, because this is amazing for drawing on the individual brow hair effect as well. If you're new to doing your brows and you have no idea brow placement, this is my best tip for brow placement. First, you want to take the brow pencil and kind of line it up on the little part of your nose here, and then you want to line it up in a straight line and go along the outer corner of your eye. That's going to give you where your brow should meet in the middle. And if you do that on both sides, you're gonna have a more symmetrical look. Whereas if I just go in and freehand it, I always end up kind of drawing one closer to the middle than the other. Then to get the highest point of your arch, you want to line it up across your pupil, and then where the pencil ends will be the highest point of your brow. And then you can do that again with the outer corner of your eye, line it up, and where the brow meets the pencil, that is where your brow should end. So you kind of have a good brow mapping out there. When going in with the retractable pencil, I like to really feather it in and use a really light hand. You also want to apply this on a really nice surface, so kind of a dry surface. You don't want to be putting this directly over a freshly moisturized, lotioned face or anything like that. So you want to go in and just feather it in and kind of almost make it more sparse than you would think at first, because you're going to just kind of go in a few times and start to layer it. Natural brow hairs kind of all go in different directions, so you don't have to be insanely precise to make all the lines match. The idea is just kind of create shading that looks like real brow hairs, almost like creating an optical illusion on your face. As I'm doing the brows, if I feel like the brow pencil isn't giving me that crisp line that I want, I'll sometimes go in with a translucent powder really lightly and just lightly tap the area to get rid of any excess oils so that I have a nice workspace to work with. I also like to use the spoolie on the back of the pencil to erase any harsh lines. This also helps to maintain that brow-like look if the line starts to become too solid. That's the thing I really like about using a brow pencil, is if I decide I want to change the brow shape as I'm working with them, I can kind of just use my finger to erase it. Whereas if you're using something like the brow temporary tattoos, if you mess it up, you have to take them off and start all over. You can't make micro adjustments. And also because I wear wigs and I always wear different wig styles and colors, I do my brows differently based on different hairstyles that I'm wearing on any given day. So using a brow pencil really gives me that flexibility to adjust it for different looks, because I do like to be a chameleon on a regular basis. Once I have the basic outline of my brows with the pencil, this is actually a weird trick that I have for laying out the brow placement as well to make sure it still looks symmetrical. I like to actually take a selfie on my iPhone, which is a weird tip, but I find that if I take a picture of my face, no expression, just like kind of very directly looking into the camera, not at any angle, it's much easier to see from a photo if the brows are symmetrical. You can even go into the photo editor app and kind of flip the image back and forth, because that will really just help you see it clearly whether they're symmetrical or not. Once I have a layout that I like with the brow pencil, this is where I go in with the NYX Lift and Snatch. So if you're new to this product, I would recommend kind of trying it out on your hand a few times first. You really want to use a very, very light hand with this, because you very easily can go in with a dark, thick line. You really just want to be using the very, very tip of the applicator and just a tiny bit of product to create little tiny hair-like brow strokes. If you feel like you're not getting enough product in the tip, you can kind of brush it up against the cap or on a different surface to kind of just brush the product so it's on the very, very tip of the applicator. When using this, you almost want to be barely touching your brow. I can't emphasize that enough, because if you go in with too much of a heavy hand, that's when you get those really, really thick brow strokes that don't look like brow hairs anymore. You want very, very faint brow hairs. You don't have to specifically use these two products, but I do recommend using 2 different shades, 2 different products wherever they are, because I find that using the 2 different products gives you more dimension rather than having a brow that is all completely one color. This kind of almost creates an effect of lights and shadows. Almost if you're doing a drawing and you're drawing in the dark points of the drawing, that's almost what I'm doing with the NYX Lift and Snatch. The CoverGirl retractable pencil also has this little spoolie at the end, and a lot of times people use these to comb out or neaten out their their natural brow hairs, but I almost like to use this to lighten up any product that I feel like came out too dark. Going in with the spoolie kind of helps to blend it out a little bit. Once I like the shape and the look of my brows, this is when I want to set them to make sure they last the day. So these steps are very essential to make sure they are long lasting. I like to use a translucent powder. You can use any one. I currently am using the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder. To make sure it doesn't cover up the brow, you want to make sure you're using a translucent powder. Because once that's on your skin, it should just kind of be invisible, but it will just kind of mattify the whole thing and make sure it lasts throughout the day. Sometimes if I put the powder on, if I put too much, it kind of dulls the brows. So sometimes I even will go in with the pencil or the NYX product again, just to kind of redefine them. This is all just something that you will pick up over time, how to make those little micro adjustments. Usually when I'm doing my brows, I can do them in a minute now, and it's not time consuming whatsoever. It's just about the trial and error and knowing when to use what. So if your brows are feeling too oily, that's when you use the translucent powder, and if you feel like they look too faded, that's when you can go in with a little bit more product. Another essential step is to set it with a setting spray. Setting spray really just helps to lock in your makeup for the day. Right now I'm using this one from NYX, which is a matte finish. I like matte finishes for my eyebrows because if you want to have a real brow-like brow, they're not going to be glossy or dewy. You're gonna have a matte brow to make it look realistic. Now let's move on to lashes. I didn't wear fake lashes regularly until I was probably 22 or 23. In high school, when I'm rushing off to school, I don't have time to put on fake lashes every morning, especially because I used to be so bad at putting them on. I would like maybe occasionally try to do them, but it would take me like half an hour. Like I would allot like an hour of time to do my lashes just in case I messed up. Because if you mess up your lashes, you pretty much have to redo your whole makeup and it's so stressful. But hopefully the tips that I give you in this video will help to speed up that learning process so you can start wearing your lashes sooner if you want to. Definitely don't feel obligated to do your lashes if it's something that stresses you out. My sort of solution for hiding the fact that I didn't have lashes when I was way too busy to put on fake lashes every single day, I just wore a black liquid eyeliner, and I always draw on a cat eye. It sounds silly, but it's almost like if you're looking at like a cartoon character, they're not drawing on, like you can't draw like 3D lashes on a cartoon character, they just have the little cat eye, and just by looking at that you know it's lashes. So it was almost like creating an optical illusion that I have lashes just by like drawing on like a cartoon character eye, and I've just been doing that daily since I was like 14, 15. I always just found it just kind of like darkened that whole area around my eye, so if you weren't looking closely, you could never really notice that I didn't have eyelashes. When I'm applying my cat eye liner, I kind of just do each eye at the same time, so it's like a little bit on one eye, a little bit in the other eye, just kind of go back and forth, and that's the best way for me to make sure that they are symmetrical. Don't just follow a tutorial of like someone how they're exactly doing it on a video or something. It's really about working with your own eye shape, especially if you have a hooded eye or something like that. You want to kind of work around the shape of your eyelid. And then for the cat eye, it's almost like I'm taking the bottom of my lower lid and continuing the curve up to get one line on the bottom, and then I'm almost starting the other line from where my crease begins and kind of extending that out, and that's how I make the shape of my cat eye. But some people's eyes look good with downturned liner, upturned eyeliner, more sharp, more curved. It really depends on your eye shape, so try a couple of different ones and see what works best for you. For applying lashes, the most important part is the product that you use, so the specific lash that you buy and the lash glue. Absolutely the beginner mistakes that I used to make was buying the wrong kind of lash. I have a huge basket of different lashes in my house because I always like to have different options available on hand. I like to wear a more natural lash on some days, and sometimes I love the big kind of like manga anime lash, so just figure out which style you're going for. One of the biggest tips that I have for you with lashes is you do not need to spend a fortune on an expensive pair of lashes in order for them to work well. The most I'll spend on a single pair of lashes is like maybe $6, but like my favorite right now is this multi-pack from Amazon, and a pack of I think 14 of these was like $9. So if you do the math on that, that is a really good price for a pack of lashes. Whereas some of these expensive brands will try to sell you a single pair of lashes for that much. I have a whole like basket of lashes in my house for all of the different types that I like, but I'll just show you a few of them here, and ones that I used to like and why I don't like them anymore, and then my current favorite pair. So for example, the pair that I used to always buy and always recommend as a good natural lash is the Ardell Wispies. They are a really nice natural looking lash, but those are really good for blending in with a natural lash. And something about the Ardell Wispies or other really natural looking lashes that they sell is that those, in order to look natural, they're very kind of lightweight and feathery, which is really good for a natural lash, but those are much harder to hold up if you don't have your own lashes to support the lash band. So even though I used to love these, I found over time that when I wore these, I always had trouble with them drooping. So what I found was that a lash band with a slightly thicker lash band on the actual band part itself, that was much easier to apply and have it stay all day because it had a little bit more durability to stay up on its own without a natural lash holding it up. So you can even look at these two lash bands side by side. You have the Ardell Wispies. You can see the lash band is almost invisible. Whereas if you look at this lash band from this other set of Amazon lashes that I actually really like, these have just a little tiny bit more durability to them. A lash band like this will be much easier for it to stay upright. So if you're struggling with your lashes staying up, then you might just have to get more of a firm lash band. But also be careful because some lash bands will literally be like a straight line and you cannot conform them to your eye because they're just so thick, kind of like a happy medium in between. When you take a new pair of lashes out of the pack for the first time, you want to make sure they fit your eye length. So when you first take it out of the package, measure it to your eye without any glue, just kind of measure it out and see how much you have to trim off. If you have a tapered lash like this, I recommend trimming it from the longer length of the lashes. You want to maintain those inner corner shorter lashes because that's what's going to help them look more natural once they are applied. So I usually just have to trim off this little tiny bit and then they fit my eye shape. After trimming the lashes, even the side that you didn't trim, sometimes there's a little bit of the lash band kind of hanging over. If you trim that little tiny excess piece of material that extends past, then you're just cutting off some of the extra material that might be kind of uncomfortable and poking you in the eye. Now let's talk about lash glues. My personal favorite is the Duo lash glue, especially the one that dries dark. You can get lash glue that dries dark, clear, but I just find that the ones that dry clear don't really dry clear. They kind of do dry with like a white, almost like tint to them. Because I wear black eyeliner anyway, I really like to use the one that dries dark because it really gives you a seamless blend between the lash glue and the eyeliner. The trick is to apply a thin layer of lash glue and to set it aside to get tacky. So the Duo bottle suggests 30 seconds. I sometimes even leave up to a minute, but what I'll do is I'll put a thin layer of the lash glue on the lash band. Then I set both of those aside. Now, this is personal preference, but I like to use 2 different lash glues. I like to put this type of Duo lash glue on the lash band itself, but then I will actually use this brush-on lash glue. This one is really good as well. This is the Super Strong Hold Eyelash Adhesive Eye Envy, and then a tiny little print there. It says by Kiss. I didn't even know this was by Kiss. These are also really cheap on Amazon as well. You can buy a pack of 2 for pretty cheap and they last a long time. You don't have to use both glues, but what I like to do is I put the Duo on the lash band and then I use the brush on and actually brush this over my eyeliner, almost like a second layer of eyeliner. And the fact that I'm putting it on top of the eyeliner I already have on means I don't have to be as precise, but that way if I'm putting a little bit of lash glue on my eye as well, and it does almost give something to grip onto when you put the lash on your eye as well. So that means you have a tacky surface on the lash band and you have a tacky surface on your eyelid, and I find that really helps to just keep the lash in place and it stays where you put it while it's drying. What you could also do is you could take the brush on lash glue and just get the one glue and brush this on to the lash band and onto your eye. I don't know why I started to use 2 different products because you could just as easily just use one and put it on both. Usually it times out perfectly that once I put the lash glue on the lash band and then do the lash glue on my eyelids, that's usually just enough time for the lash glue on the lash band to get tacky, and then I can just go ahead and put it on my eye. So it's a really good time saver. I like to line up the lash glue with my inner corner and kind of place it where I know I want it to be on the inner corner, let it kind of stick there, and then almost like kind of roll it out onto my eye. A lot of times before I even go to put the lash on, I'll kind of like bend it a little bit just to make sure it's going to be flexible enough to stick to my eye and almost kind of like pre-shape it to my eye. Then once I have it in place, I just really gently use my fingertips to make sure it is staying upright. Upwards. That's a big tip as well, is a lot of times people will kind of let their lashes dry droopy and then it looks like they're droopy all day. So after I put them on, I will just kind of like push up very lightly as it's drying because you don't want to push it off, but just a very light motion kind of at the base of the lash to make sure it dries up. Something else I really like about brush on lash glues is that you can actually use these for touch-ups as well. So if you have your lashes on throughout the day and it starts to come up on one side or the other, you can actually just take it and very gently kind of brush it on into place, just putting just a little tiny dot on your eyelid. You obviously want to be careful not to get this in your eye. Once you have them placed where you want them to be, then just kind of let them be and let them set. Once it is fully dry, I like to go back in with my liquid eyeliner and with my pencil eyeliner as well. With the liquid eyeliner, I like to kind of continue the lash line on my inner corner so it's not such a blunt end of the lash band. That way I can kind of use the eyeliner to blend it in with the eyeliner that I already have on to make sure it's just a nice cohesive line. And then I also like to take the stick eyeliner to put this on my waterline as well. I find that really helps to blend the lash in. Sometimes I like to take my liquid eyeliner and draw on almost like little fake bottom lashes. Just use little teeny tiny dots almost to simulate the look of bottom lashes, just using the very tip of the liquid eyeliner. And sometimes if I'm going for more of an alternative makeup look that day, I like to draw on little almost like little cat eyes or little wings at the bottom too. Again, it's almost like the idea of drawing on like a cartoonish looking eyelash. It just makes me feel more confident, and that's just something that I like to do. Bottom lash fake lashes do exist, by the way. I don't usually bother with them. I have tried them once or twice and I thought they were really cute and pretty easy to apply, surprisingly. Maybe because you're not fighting against gravity as much on your bottom lashes. And for those, you can get the more like flimsy flexible ones for the bottom lashes because of that. And that is pretty much it for the eyeliner and lashes as well. And then I just go ahead and set the whole face with setting spray one more time. Now let's talk about touch-ups throughout the day. I like to carry around a small little touch-up kit, so to speak, with just the products that I know that I might need throughout the day. Just for peace of mind, I like to carry around my brow pencils that I used, a little bit of translucent powder, and my eyeliner, and my lash glue, especially the brush-on lash glue, because that one is really good for quick touch-ups. So those are all of the alopecia makeup tips that I have for this video. I know it was a bit of a long video, but I really just wanted to go really in depth on all of the different tips that I have for you to just kind of have all of the information in one place for you to use to your advantage. And again, all of these tips are repeated on my blog, abbyandrew.com. Just go to the blog post and there'll be a post all about makeup tips for alopecia. If you have any questions about anything that I've mentioned in this video, definitely leave them in the comments below. And if you want to, you can also always feel free to DM me on Instagram at abbyandrew.yt. And in general, don't forget to follow me on both TikTok and Instagram. I make lots of alopecia and wig related content on there, as well as cosplay content, all sorts of fun stuff. Pictures of my dog if you want more photos of little Nilbog. Oh, she just sneezed in my face. Thank you guys so much again for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!